All right, then let's begin with the show and put the spotlight on Bitcoin, which reportedly has surged past the 100,000, 7,500 mark. In fact, that's just 1.42% below its peak that was scaled in January this year. Remember, marks Bitcoin's highest surge since January, like I said. But the question is, where is the currency headed now? What are going to be the levers of growth? To discuss that and more, I'm now joined by a special guest who's joining us now. In fact, and we have Mr. Ajit Khurana, who's now joining us on the show from Reflexive. Thank you very much, Mr. Khurana, for joining us here on ET Now. First things first, what's fueling this surge, given that there is a likelihood of volatility? There is, of course, some ebbing that was expected on account of the US-China deal getting finalized, and of course, Trump administration now dismissing Moody's downgrade for the economy. So what's leading the surge in Bitcoin?
For any big risk asset, there are always going to be many pros and cons. The biggest pros which you're talking about are coming from the fact that many governments, and this is not just central governments such as the US, but also state governments such as the state of Texas in the US, have announced that they will hold a reserve of Bitcoin specifically, not cryptocurrency in general, but Bitcoin specifically, which means that amount of Bitcoin will go out of circulation for the time being. And market forces would dictate that would take it up. I think this is the single biggest reason.
Right. And of course, when there is volatility, of course, all of these currencies like cryptocurrencies or, for example, gold, these tend to rise. But I want to understand from you in terms of what's the key resistance and support levels that you're seeing around this rally over the next few months. Is it going to touch all-time highs? You see that coming, especially for Bitcoin and other crypto assets?
With a disclaimer that I have a significant holding in Bitcoin, that apart, I'm not a financial advisor, but my feeling is that if you look at the next couple of months and years, we are going to see significantly higher prices from here. Having said that, will that happen this time, or could there be a retracement? The structural change that we are seeing in the holding pattern of Bitcoin is that for the first 15 years of Bitcoin has been held in small quantities by a very large number of people. This is now shifting from small retail holders to largish holders like the BlackRocks, the US government, and what have you. In this shift, we are dealing with people who are suave investors, strong market operators, and the ones who are very emotionally driven. This actually enhances the volatility of an already volatile asset. And this is the one that is the worry and could take a strong retracement even from here.
Right. But Mr. Khurana, given that, the backdrop in the United States, what do you really see? And how do you really see the new age currency gaining strength right here in India? You did speak about the fact that, a large number of people are holding a very small portion of crypto assets. And of course, there is more interest to sort of, invest in this cryptocurrency in the past few years. But there is a proclivity in India specifically as a market you talk about. We tend to tilt more towards safe haven assets and not so much of risky assets like crypto. Would you agree with that?
I would agree 100% for a certain investor class. I used to at one point of time be the CEO of one of India's largest cryptocurrency exchange. And I found that 80 to 85% of our assets, that is assets that were traded on our exchange, were held by people between the ages of 18 and 32. So the new age is a little more risk tolerant. Of course, their expectations of rewards scare me. They would want to put in like 100 rupees and make it 1,000 rupees by the end of the year. And even that would not necessarily make them too happy. So that sort of audience is not demonstrating the same risk-averse behavior that you're talking about and is willing to take risks.
All right, one final question, Mr. Khurana, before we let you go. Now that the world is moving from an exploratory phase to a formal integration of digital assets into the established financial systems when it comes to cryptos, should India also now take the next leap forward in terms of economic and technological advancements?
Two very quick points. I have been associated with startups all my life. I used to be CEO of IIT Bombay's business incubator. I have seen that whether it is the internet, the mobile internet, social media, e-commerce, what have you, India is always a late and reluctant starter. And then when they are about to miss the last bus, they do catch the bus and sometimes actually catch up with the rest of the world. Regrettably, we are repeating that history again in cryptocurrency. We could have been the world leaders in this because we have the largest blockchain engineers here. I think that yes, we should definitely move ahead. And the simpler way would be, instead of looking at a Dubai or an El Salvador or a Cayman Islands, let us look at US, UK, etc., where what they have done is taken their existing legislation and regulations and just expanded their reading to include cryptocurrency, which is a much faster and easier way to a regulatory framework.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Khurana, on that note for joining us and sharing your insights.